I thought I would share an invocation by a Rotarian. Her name's Miss Bird, who I've been pulling from occasionally, and I thought it was appropriate. Let us be the calm when the world is dark and full of fear. Let us bring the light of dawn when voices shout and conflict reigns. Let us be there for relief. When hope is needed everywhere, let's raise a voice for peace. So with that being said, we want to call the meeting to order, and I know that we have at least one guest here today. And if maybe Joan, you can introduce our guest. All right. We do have a guest Rotarian. I'll need help. Is it Gilherm?
Yes, it's Guillermo.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
If you could tell us a little bit about yourself. I know a little bit from reading, but maybe you could share with everyone else.
Yes, yeah, sure. My pleasure. So my name is Guillermo. I'm not a Rotarian yet. I was very closely related to Rotary because I was a Rotary exchange student 10 years back. I lived in in Nevada, in the District 5590, during the 2008-2009 school year. And after that, I went back to my home country, which is Brazil. And I moved back to the US in 2018 to my MBA. So I'm currently living in Austin, Texas. And I actually just finished the program, and I'm moving to Philadelphia next month to start as Strategy and Development Manager at Bimbo Bakers USA. So I reconnect with Rotary at this time since I'm moving to Philly.
Awesome. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, can you also help us pronounce your last name correctly?
Sure. It's Junqueira.
And say both names together, please.
It's Guilherme Junqueira.
Guilherme?
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, it's great to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
When will you physically be? When will you physically be in Philadelphia?
I'm moving on July 20th.
Okay.
To Philadelphia.
Great. We look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other guests? Welcome, Greg. All right. We'll move on. I wanted to take the next session and turn it over to Lisa, who's an amazing host. And we try to, at each of our meetings, have a little bit of time so that members can talk to each other, which, we miss that at our physical meetings. And I miss that with everyone, to be honest. Like all of us, we've been sort of cloistered in our homes a lot. So with that being said, I want to turn it over to Lisa.
Yeah, hi everybody. Nice to see you all. Just so you know, I'm having a power outage that probably will last until Saturday. So I'm doing the video on my phone, which I'm not used to doing. So forgive me if I'm a little clunky, but we'll go around the room. And the question is, when you were in school, what was your extracurricular activity, and or were you on a sports team or a Glee arts program or something when you were not doing your classwork? So I will begin by saying that I was on the college forensics team, which was actually the speech team. I was not a debater, although we traveled with the debate crew and we would go to various universities around the Northeast. My area of interest was the oral interpretation of prose, poetry, and dramatic readings, which very much relates to the voiceover career that I have. So for me, it was just a really fun thing to do. I met some great friends, and I enjoyed doing this competitive public speaking for 4 years. So I was a speech team person. So next on the list, let us go to Christopher Coffer.
Oh, my extracurricular activities?
Yes.
I was doing a lot of gymnastics and judo at the time that I was in school. And then I started rowing and did a lot of rowing after that. So
How interesting. I think this is a good question. We're going to find out some good little facts about each other. Jay Penny. And-
Well, probably my biggest extracurricular activity was debating with my friends who was a better rock guitarist, Keith Richards or somebody else. I don't think I really got engaged in school until college. It completely changed my life. So I was not into sports. I did like to write, so I did do my fair share of that and contributed to the school newspaper.
Excellent. Okay, going down the list a bit so you can prepare. We'll do Joe Battori next, and then Karen, and then Kurt. Joe Battori.
You want to take yourself off mute there, Joan and Joe?
Doing here, you on? Yeah. I was a basketball player in high school, but I hated discipline, hated practice. So I did all of my playing in the amateur athletic union leagues in South Philly. Very, very competitive, but not at the high school level. So that's me, basketball player.
All right, and Joan, you want to take yours next? Thanks.
I was more active in high school than I was in college. I was the co-editor of the yearbook, on the debate team, French Society, probably a couple more. By the time I got to college, I was commuting 3 hours a day. And all of the activities were on campus. I wasn't. So I wasn't able to participate formally in any college activities. But on the side, I was still, believe it or not, walking the neighborhood in West Philly and going up alleyways and looking at plants and actually reading a lot about plants. And it was a continuation of my father's idea that he really on weekends said, let's jump in the car, we'll go anywhere. And we would explore all the suburbs and all the parks. And my father really formed my environmental interests. So here I am. I'm still plants. And the funny thing is I've dragged Joe along with me, and now he's doing the same thing.
Yeah, wonderful. And we'll hear more about that in your presentation later. Thank you. So Karen, Kurt, Rosanna, and then Akira. Karen, you're next.
So I didn't do anything. It's unbelievable because it couldn't happen in this day and age. I was on my own at 13. I started working when I was 13, and I worked part and full time since then.
Wow.
I never did any activities other than working.
What was your first job, Karen?
My first job was cleaning houses. It was wonderful. I stumbled on it by talking to someone on my way home walking from school. So at 13, I would go after school. I had a house to clean Monday, Tuesday, every school day through Friday.
Wow.
I'd go in. It was great because I also helped myself to the refrigerator while I was. So after school, I would just go clean a house, and then I would go home, and then I'd go to school, and then I'd go clean a house, and that was it.
Wow. Entrepreneurial at a young age, Karen. Thank you for sharing that. Kurt, yeah. Rosanna, and then Akira. So Kurt, you're up next.
Well, I guess my high school days, I was a basketball and soccer player. And then in college, I was working 35 hours a week. So that kind of took up my time for college. I got involved with the Accounting Society. Some of you have heard, and I always admired Joan Battori for her environmental aspects of her career, because I was an environmental science major my first semester of college, and chemistry made me an accountant. So
great story. Thanks, Kurt. What about Rosanna? I'm sorry. Were you done, Kurt?
Yep.
Okay. Rosanna, you're next.
Hi. Well, in college and in high school, I used to do gymnastics. And then I started, both in high school and college, I started a group of us, a group of friends that would visit certain schools in different areas back in California where we felt that they needed help with mentoring elementary kids and math and reading and writing. And so we would do this on Saturday mornings, and we chose different schools. Sometimes they would ask us to stay in a specific school for a certain time, and we would do that. And it felt good. You know, we really enjoyed it, you know, and we enjoyed it when we saw just the child's face, you know, that they would be like, oh, I'm understanding this, you know, and I'm going to do better at school. And I think when a child feels that he can understand something, he likes school better, and that can change a life. So to us, that was our thing. You know, that's what we did on weekends.
That's wonderful. Young Rotarian in training. Look at you. Thanks, Rosanna. Akira, your school involvement when you were not in class.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Well, I did undergraduate around only 6 years after the war. So the family was still recovering from war. And one of the best activity I did, among other things, is to teach Japanese language to the American missionary. And I only did, they made a special request to me that never use English. Stick to Japanese because we are hiring you to learn Japanese. I said, yes, sir. But and 5 minutes later, they were talking about English. So I had to answer English. So it gave me a very good chance to learn pronunciation, Native American pronunciation, etc. And I also learned something about the Lutheran Church. And I was giving a translation of this pastor saying English, and then and the next is Japanese. And then second thing I was supposed to do was write his sermon in written in English into Japanese, and he would read my sentence. So I was sitting at the back of the church and praying that he doesn't make any mistake, but he does occasionally. I remember one of the mistakes he made was all humans are created equally. And human means Japanese ningen. That means human being. But it is very closer to in pronunciation is ninjin. Ninjin is a carrot. So when he said all human being created the same, all carrots created the same. And I felt very small in trying to teach him the difference between carrot and human.
That's an important distinction. Thank you, Akira.
All right.
Thank you. Alex, Greg Bradley, and then Kelly. Alex, you're up. We're doing your after-school activities in high school and or college. Can you unmute, Alex?
Alex, you should be good now.
You know what? I'm sorry. I guess I muted my phone.
You're good now. We can hear you.
I should know this because I'm 30. But when I was in high school, so I played some sports, like martial arts. I think the majority of the time I play guitar, so I spent a lot of time playing music with other people, jamming, that type of thing. So that was the majority of time in high school. Not as intense as Kurt. I didn't work 35 hours a week during college, but I did work throughout college. Towards the tail end of my college career, I was commuting into Philadelphia to also work, at my first job when I got out of school. So most of college was actually devoted just to like study and working.
Excellent.
So
all right.
High school may be an interesting answer, yeah.
Thank you. Greg Bradley, and then Kelly, and then our guest, if you'd like to answer the question as well, and then Dr. Jeff Cabot. So Greg Bradley, nice to see you.
Hello there. Nice to see everyone.
Hi there.
Too.
Oh, you're on a tropical island. Good for you.
I am not at the shore. I'm working from home and it's lunchtime, so my wife is cooking behind me. It's like the Swedish chef from the Muppets. So I decided to keep it muted and off here. But yeah, for me, I feel like I grew up a lot, spent a lot of time playing sports and really liked recycling too. My small little town had a recycling center that I volunteered at all the time. So that was like one of my favorite things. So always been a big fan of the environment and just volunteerism in general.
Oh, very interesting. Thank you, Greg. Kelly? Miss Kelly, nice to see you.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, and look at your background. Wow.
Okay, I've also secretly double muted me often. In high school, it was all about music, choir, band, those, all music, all the time. Hanging out in record stores. Working started very, very young too, like around 12 or 13, babysitting gigs. Avoided it entirely by dyeing my hair green or purple in high school. So I took care of that, and I had other kinds of jobs. But I also wrote a column for the Centralizer in our then recently changed to co-ed public high school. So that was cool, or fun. It was fun.
Wow,
Volunteered a bit in college, but it was always political, and I'll keep it light.
All right,
Thanks.
Kelly, thank you for that. Guillermo, would you like to tell us a bit about your interests when you were not in the classroom? Were you on a team or joining a club of any kind in school?
Yeah, sure. So in high school, I was part of the tennis and the track and field teams. Was pretty good, pretty fun. Like I still like to play tennis. And in college, in Brazil, it works a little bit different in the sense that we start doing internships pretty early, and we do a longer classes early. So we don't have that much club and sports involvement in college in Brazil. But I did sports in high school.
All right. Okay, thank you. And Dr. Jeff Cabot.
Can you just give me the what I'm supposed to say first?
Yes, yeah. Were you on a sports team or in a club, any kind of high school or college activity when you were not actually in the classroom? What else were you interested in?
Okay. So yeah, I started working early as a paper boy, and then had to mow the family lawn, which was always a chore. As soon as I went off to college, my dad got a riding mower, so that was a little frustrating. Never had that. But in terms of school, my dad was an electronics salesman, so I was on the AV club, also in the chess club. The AV club was actually fun because by the time I got to high school, my high school had a TV studio, so I got to run the TV studio, and that was really an experience. But I also volunteered at local nursing homes, playing cards with elderly folks, something my folks instilled in me very early, and one of the reasons I love Rotary.
Yeah, that's great. Has anybody joined the meeting that we haven't heard from? Any additional members joining us? Okay, then. I think that concludes this segment of getting to know each other. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thanks, Lisa. And just to clarify the record too, since this is being recorded, like Karen, I had to get a job at probably 13, 14. I didn't want anyone to think I was a deadbeat or anything. So we'll move to our next segment. So I'm calling for any announcements, and while everyone's thinking, I have one just to give an update. We had an opportunity to apply for a district grant. So this was for an organization called Reading Aloud. And this is a matching grant from our own foundation for $2,500. I got the application in this past weekend, right before the deadline. And tied with this will be a service project where if we receive the funding, and hopefully we will work with this organization to help strengthen their reading program by mentoring the students online, because what happens many times, they have really good certified teachers, this organization, but it requires the kids to do homework and follow up on some things, and it's very difficult in some of the single parent homes to do that. So we're going to work with them likely in fall on programs. we'll keep our fingers crossed that you receive the matching grant. Are there any other committee announcements?
Our joint meeting with the Rotary Club of Nottingham is tentatively scheduled for July 16th at 1:00 p.m. our time. It's a little bit later than our usual start time. It is on Thursday. And Nottingham was gracious enough to choose that as one of the available dates for the joint meeting, even though their regular meeting date is on Mondays at dinner. So in this case, they will see how many members they can accumulate to join with us. And it will be dinner time in Nottingham, but they are very, very flexible, and we'll see how many people we can attract.
That'll be fun. Are there any other committee announcements or club announcements?
Hi, I'm sorry I'm having difficulty. This is with video. This is Kelly. I just wanted to first give a shout out to Oscar and Jay. We met to talk about the next fundraising activity for food bank. So we're going to host a virtual bingo game night. We'll have some prizes that will be modest and a lot of fun. And so stay tuned for an announcement about the date and time. It'll take place on Zoom. I'm thinking July, but we're going to try to get this up and running as soon as we can and promote it beyond our particular club. Again, can't underscore enough how much I really appreciate Oscar's willingness to kind of oversee the IT aspect of this, which will obviously be central and critical. So all the proceeds are going to go to a food bank. We're working on figuring out which food bank is most appropriate. We contacted somebody, it didn't really work out or make the most sense, or Oscar did. Again, thank you. And so we'll be emailing you shortly to get an announcement out with a description and some details. And we'll have some kind of tiered approach to the donation levels. So stay tuned.
Thank you, Kelly. And I should note too that we have an opportunity to apply for a small grant again through the district for food bank, and that's for $500. I will be completing the application and getting that in, and that will be sort of the seed money to get this started. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Great. Are there any other announcements?
Just one last thing. At the happy hour meeting on Tuesday, there were about 8 attendees, and Ken Myers, who is the young man who provides concierge services to celebrities and athletes in the city, is very conscious about the damage that has been done to small businesses in the city, some of them minority owned and others not. But we are looking at making a connection with an organization that may help us locate some of these small business owner damaged businesses to see if we can physically help them in any way, whether it's cleanup or restocking shelves. This may or may not develop. I just wanted to let you know that Ken is very interested in this. He's seen a lot of the damage, and we will, Jay, Ken, and I, and Patricia will be conference calling or Zooming, I guess, with a member of a new organization in South Philly called Stand Up that is meant to protect business owners during this particular situation, and beyond that to strengthen South Philadelphia. But that may or may not be our focus. It's just someone that we may be able to work through to make a contact with some of these small businesses in the city.
We have, Joan, we've been in contact with a couple of commercial corridor folks at Habitat, and they've been working in West and different areas that have been impacted. And so they're sending requests our way for small businesses that need help rebuilding their shelves, cleaning out stores, kind of restocking, kind of that type of stuff in the near future. Habitat's more, probably geared towards replacing windows and that type of stuff, but I can send requests your way or kind of virtually introduce if you'd like to be privy to any of those kind of like ongoing needs in the small business community.
That would be great, Greg. And we have a long established relationship with Habitat for Humanity, your organization, and we need to capitalize on that since you have some direct input from the business owners themselves. That's great. Do that.
Yeah, we have a point of contact here at Habitat that's kind of receiving a lot of those requests via all like CDCs in those respective areas. So I'll have them kind of forward a few over to me, and if either that or feel free to just describe whatever is kind of your wheelhouse or your time frame, and I can kind of filter for you.
Great.
But we'll see. It's kind of all unfolding, so we'll keep you posted.
Good. And this conference call today may yield nothing, but having a Habitat, we rely on you for this kind of information and volunteer opportunities. So thanks.
Sure, happy to help if we can.
And Joan, I'm sure you saw, but some of the people might not have seen the group you were talking about, Stand Up. They actually went out in one of the worst nights and had 30 or 40 guys protecting the Target on Mifflin Street in South Philly, so that looters couldn't get in there. So yeah, they've been showing a very strong presence this week.
Great. Thank you, Joan. Are there any other announcements? All right. We'll turn to our speaker now, and it always gives me great pleasure to have one of our own speak, and we occasionally have that opportunity as we do today. Joan Vittori, and you know, we have some new people here that don't know. Joan served in many roles in Rotary, and a couple things to mention is that she is past district governor of the District 7450, the one that we are in. She was the president of the club. I might add, she doesn't say this much, but she was the first woman president of our club. And not the last, and will not be the last in the future, but she blazed some trails there that should be noted. But she's here today to talk about recycling and economic driver. Joan was the former Chester County recycling coordinator responsible for initiating municipal recycling programs throughout the county, and the former Philadelphia recycling coordinator recruited by our former mayor, Rendell, to increase recycling in the city. As I mentioned, she served in many roles in Rotary, including the district governor of 51 clubs in the greater Philadelphia metro area, and was charged with managing leadership training, event planning, corporate board, corporate financing, and motivating 1,500 members and leaders to provide outstanding community service locally and globally. So if we can give a nice warm welcome to Joan, and she can start her presentation.
Thank you all. I think I'm proudest of the fact that I was the first female president of our club in 2005. And given the fact that our club was chartered in 1911, that's not half bad. It took us, but we got there. All right, here we are. Most people think that recycling is all about tree hugging, that it's a feel-good activity, and that it's okay to do it because it makes sense to some people. To others, it doesn't, so they don't. But recycling was instituted in Pennsylvania and many other states around 1988. What does that mean? That the state of Pennsylvania required every resident, every business, every institution to start recycling the materials that you're all familiar with, you know, the usuals, the paper, the glass, the plastics, the cardboard, cans, of course, and never really explained why, other than saying it's a good thing to do. So in that case, back that up. It's really an economic issue. As we know, resources are finite. And the more we use in their natural state, the less is left for future generations. When I say it's economic, if you look at these figures, who would not want to recycle? Look at the paper. And you know where virgin paper comes from? Trees. Some of our forests in this country are managed, meaning they're sustainably cut, but many are not. So in order to make paper, toilet paper, popular topic, we cut trees. And even though recycled paper saves trees, many of our companies aren't doing it. Markel and some of the 7th generation products are using paper stock that we put out at the curb. If you look at newspaper, water, energy involved in printing newsprint. And most of our newsprint comes from Scandinavia. So add in the transportation. Recycled plastic, it is made from oil. We have a dismal plastic recycling rate because it's an extremely difficult product to recycle, made so by the plastics industry, who seem to enjoy creating as many different plastic combinations as they can so that it can't be recovered. But if we did recycle plastic in the amount that the European countries and some Asian countries are recycling it, think about the energy that we would be saving, not only for the production of it from fossil fuels like oil, but many of the plants that produce plastic are powered by coal or oil. Recycled glass, it's sand. And yet it takes a lot to create virgin glass from sand. These are staggering numbers. When you think that in our country, glass today is more valuable than ever because all of these vaccines that are being produced now, any of these test kits, they're not being made from plastic, they're being made from glass. Yet because the bars and restaurants have closed down across the country, the glass industry is now begging for glass because in the future, it will become an essential product to continue the chain of producing and storing and transporting all of these COVID-related medications. For the 10 states that have bottle and canned deposit laws, it's those 10 states that provide 40% of the glass for the recycling industry because they can get the glass in a pure form. Those of us who are multi-stream recycling or single stream recycling, mixing all of these recyclables together, you're going to see how they're separated out, but the end product is not pure glass. Waste management, that is one of the prime collectors in this area and is the largest in the country, for example, has a manufacturing plant, a processing plant right up in Bridesburg on Route 95, and they're trashing the glass that comes through that recycling plant. And this is the glass that those of you who will have waste management as a collector, that's the glass that they're collecting and that's what they are doing with it. 65% of every aluminum can that you have now or will buy is recycled aluminum. Now, aluminum is extremely valuable because we don't produce it in this country. Aluminum comes from a rock called bauxite. And we used to produce it, we used to mine it, we don't. Less than 1% of the bauxite in this country that goes into a virgin aluminum manufacturing stream, that's 1%. If we wanted to import aluminum or bauxite, we'd have to go to South America, the Dominican Republic, Africa, or Australia. So you can see that aluminum is extremely important to recycle. Metal cans, extremely important to recycle because those industries are hampered by the lack of domestic supply. They need us to give them their feedstock. Scrap steel, instead of virgin ore, iron is mined. It's mined in huge open pits with gigantic pieces of equipment that look like they're from the Transformer movie. All of the steel, these are primarily cans, and scrap yards provide steel, go into manufacturing new steel. And look at the cost savings. It's pretty incredible. Now let's talk about what happens to what you put out at curbside, both trash and recycling. What happens to it in this area? Most of it is landfilled. It goes to the waste management landfill up along the river, right next to our water supply intake plant from the Delaware River. You'll see what landfills are all about. But if you look at landfills for job creation, there are about 1 or 2 people in the office that when the trash trucks come in, they handle the trash trucks. There's about 4 people up on the giant hill where all the trash is being dumped out. And it's about 6 jobs per landfill. The largest man-made object in the world is a landfill in Fresh Kills, New York on Staten Island. It's visible from a landfill, from a satellite. What happens to the rest of your material, the trash that you put out, and recycling that you don't recycle properly, especially plastics? It goes to one of 6 incinerators in this area. And plastic's ideal because it's made from oil, so it burns beautifully, high BTU values. But we do have 6 of these, what is called trash to steam plants in the general area, in the suburbs and across the river in Jersey. And 1 job is created by incinerating 10,000 tons of waste and recyclables that have not been properly recycled. So what does this all mean? If you're trying to understand what to recycle and what not, we're all pretty familiar with the standard items. We know that cardboard, for example, is extremely valuable, and mixed paper. They're made into new cardboard, into new boxes in which all of our products are shipped back to us. We know that glass can be recycled and reused, but not here, but it's still valuable to at least try to recycle it at curbside. Aluminum and steel, we're all clear about what that should be. And we come to the plastics, the most difficult part of your decision-making process. What are the most recyclable and reusable plastics? Well, here we have it. The infamous drinking water bottle and any other plastic bottle that has a narrow neck with a small lid and a number 1 on the bottom. This is the most valuable plastic you can put in your recycling bin. This is what manufacturers are actually using to produce new product. Number 2, HDPE, high density polyethylene. Next highest in usability. Extremely important today because of all the cleaning products that we're now using. Procter & Gamble, for example, and Unilever have switched their assembly lines to creating more of these types of containers, cleaning supply containers, anything that has a number 2 on the bottom of it, because we are using more and more of personal care products during these times. We're using more cleaning supplies during these times, and the only way they can get it in its recycled form is by those of us who are correctly putting any narrow-necked giant bottle that's really thick, that has a number 2 on the bottom in our recycling container. Yogurt, dairy cups, little iffy. Right now in this area, we do have a market for it according to Waste Management. Most areas of the country don't. So you can see the overall nationwide recycling rate for these types of containers is 2.7%. However, in this area, you can put these kinds of things in your recycling bin with confidence that something positive will happen. Who are the bad guys? Number 6 is polystyrene. Polystyrene, styrofoam, plastic packing peanuts, styrofoam cups, all made from oil. Think about that. If you have a styrofoam cup, you're putting hot coffee in it. Think about the interaction that's occurring. Even with a takeout coffee cup that you think is paper, it's lined with plastic and interacts with any of the hot materials that you're putting into that cup. Best thing to do, ditch it. Don't use any kind of styrofoam in any form. Fortunately, it goes in the trash. And here we have the infamous plastic bag. This is something that is the ban of the recycling industry, of every fish that ever swam in the ocean, every whale, every dolphin, every turtle. This is the bad guy. And you wonder why it says 9% recycling. It's extremely difficult to handle. I mean, think about it. If you have an 18-wheeler packed with plastic, how much does it weigh? How much does it cost to transport it to the very few firms in this country that actually use it? If you want to reuse a plastic bag, buy Trex plastic lumber. They are the only company on the East Coast that uses plastic bags to create plastic lumber out of a combination of sawdust and plastic bags. What happens to the trash? Landfill, for the most part, in this area and across the country. Pennsylvania is the biggest importer of waste in the country. Our landfills are known throughout the country. We have a lot of them. So what happens? That's 6 jobs. You're seeing on the right side, one of those 6 jobs. You're seeing the trash coming out of the back of this 18-wheeler, where all of your curbside trash is accumulated and then shipped to up on 95 and other landfills up in the northeastern part of our state. And the guy in the bulldozer simply runs over it back and forth, and then at the end of the day, covers it with either 6 inches of soil or some kind of foam type covering. Whatever's in that landfill is there forever. Plastic will last, as far as we know, hundreds and hundreds of years intact. Hamburgers that have been disposed of in landfills, like 20 years later, are hamburgers. They really don't decompose. When you have a lot of fluid in a landfill, it sinks to the bottom of the landfill and is collected as called leachate in pipes, put through a filtration process, and it's discharged into the river. And if it's especially noxious, the waste industries try to find another location that will accept it, but that is becoming more and more difficult. So what happens to your recycling? We are going to, hopefully, if I can exit full screen here. We will get to desktop somehow.
You may want to stop sharing and then reshare, Joan.
Yeah, okay. what we're going to see, hopefully, is a video of the process that happens when your waste goes to the recycling facility. And if I need to verbalize it, I will do that. Well, while I am trying to recover this from my files, what I can say is that everything that you put out at curbside goes to what they call a transfer station. And it is just dumped there on the ground. And then it is put into an 18-wheeler truck. And that truck takes it to a processing facility. That processing facility has 2 shifts of workers who take whatever you're putting at curbside, and they will actually sort it by hand. So let's see if we can.
Would you mind? I can't hear the audio. I don't know if others can. So when you share your screen, you have to check share computer audio. So I don't know if you want to reshare, Joan, or just talk us through it.
But I think I will just describe this. Yeah, what you're seeing here is a very highly computerized process. And as you can see, you have a number of individuals who are sorting through all of your recyclables that you put at curbside. Then, as they individually grab what they're assigned to grab, it goes into a large bunker. And let me actually get out of this so I can exit full screen. What you see here is the single stream recycling. Again, these are the 36 jobs that you're seeing. And it's not a job that many of us would like, but there it is. The waste management companies decided that single stream recycling, by mixing everything together, was more economical for them and easier for us. They created these processing facilities to sort the material. And in this case, Waste Management's facility is made so that it is LEED certified. It's made from recycled materials itself. These are the bales of paper, for example, bales of cardboard, bales of plastic that are actually equivalent to the weight of 277 planes. And whatever they can't recycle or can't sort goes to the waste management landfill up in North Philadelphia. What is being said here is that waste management in this film in 2016 is trying to perfect the process, but the worst possible thing for them is plastic bags. When you see all of this and the speed at which these materials are going through this assembly line, you know how difficult it is for people to sort through it physically. As the trash trucks or the recycling trucks come into this facility, you see that they're actually dumping everything, all combined, onto the recycling floor. The claw is taking the recyclables and moving them up onto the assembly line. And here, they're pulling out the big plastics, the hard, rigid plastics you can see here, and they're baling them. The other non-recyclable materials that they can spot in this extremely fast-moving line are put into another bunker underneath the line physically by these workers. And then there's a series of rotating machines that separate out the recycling stream to kind of make it less dense. And one by one, different types of materials are being recycled out of that long line of mixed materials on the stream. You see here, there's mostly newspaper now that has been sorted out. And the workers here are trying to sort out anything that is not paper. All of this newspaper is baled. Every single bale that is produced in this facility up until 1 year ago was shipped to China. You see here plastic bags that the workers are grabbing and putting into a vacuum, and that the resulting plastic bags are being baled. That no longer happens at Waste Management. There are too many plastic bags for them to handle. They have paper magnets, believe it or not, that further separate the other types of paper. And they have various techniques for separating the steel containers from the stream that this scanner is trying to determine what's left other than plastic bags on that assembly line. And there's a way to visually scan those plastics to sort out the ones, the twos, and so forth. These guys are picking out things like styrofoam plates, which are not recyclable. And you see these are all plastics, and now at the very end of the line are aluminum cans. And all of these items, again, are baled. This is the trash, and this is all being landfilled. And you see the big pile at the bottom of that assembly line. That's where that goes. So in that case, this is what happens. Now, the big problem is China. What happened in China was that for 30, 40 years, since the 1990s, they have been accepting every single bit of recycling that we've sent to them. And all of the mini recycling industries that we had in this country withered away and died. This decision was made by the waste management companies because they thought it was easier to bale, put these bales in shipping containers, send them to China. And then China used all of this material to, for example, the paper and cardboard, to create the boxes that they sent back to us. And so every time you order a product that comes in from China, up until a year ago, that was probably returned to you in your own paper and cardboard. They were able to use everything, and that's how they helped their middle class. The wealthiest woman in China 10 years ago was a woman who was a paper recycler. What happened a year ago? China said, you're sending us junk, you're sending us trash, we can't use it, and we're giving you 2 weeks to shut down your shipping lines. And their policy was called National Sword. That was January of 19. And waste management companies had no idea what to do next. So they scrambled and they found Malaysia, they found Vietnam, they found some of the other countries in Southeast Asia, and they started shipping the material there. And these companies were ill prepared. They didn't have the processing facility. They were shipping bales to villages, and the villagers were ripping open the bales and trying to sort through the materials. All those plastic bags and bottles that are in the Pacific Ocean, probably ours, because the villagers just discarded what they couldn't recycle themselves and sell to make money. The chief pollutants of the whole Pacific Ocean are 10 rivers in China, Vietnam, and India. So now we are scrambling to try to replace a domestic industry that we deliberately killed. There's a huge opportunity for us to create jobs, the types of jobs you saw along that assembly line. And right now, entrepreneurs are rising to the challenge. You have, for example, if you read the Wall Street Journal, you've seen full-page ads from Pratt Industries. They, in the last year and a half, since China's sword or national sword was enacted, have built the largest cardboard recycling plant in the country. They are definitely a domestic product and industry that did not exist 2 years ago. This is all starting to change. We're starting to rebuild our economy using trash. And keep in mind that Henry Ford once said famously, there's no such thing as trash. It's only a commodity that hasn't found a place. Any questions?
Hi, Joan, I have a question. We discuss literally constantly, almost every weekend, about cleaning out the recyclables and how much you need to clean out and the tops of the bottles and all that stuff. How important is it to clean out? I mean, what do they do if something, like if there's a peanut butter jar and there's still peanut butter in it, do they just get rid of it, or what's the story?
Peanut butter is a real challenge. Waste management will tell you nothing has to be 100% clean. The chief problem with that kind of waste is vermin in the plant. And for them, waste management and other companies, they say, try to eat down to the bottom of that plastic peanut butter jar as much as you can. And then with a wet towel or paper towel or dry paper towel, just wipe out the insides and you're fine. You have to empty liquids out of all of your containers, because look at those people on that line. They are being exposed to everything that goes down that line. And if you have liquid in that line, then they're the ones that experience it. So it doesn't have to be 100% clean, but lightly wiped or lightly rinsed. Lids, plastic lids, no way. Remove your lids because they're an entirely different plastic from the rest of the container. They're too small to go through that assembly line process.
Thank you.
I don't necessarily have a question. Thanks for your presentation, Joan. It's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I've noticed, my wife has noticed recently in our town that they've asked us to not put the plastic bags in the recycling can, and it goes into the regular trash can. And that's just a recent change. And I guess because of what you're saying about it. That was interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's really disheartening. I've been up at that plant, the waste management plant, several times. They're very productive, obviously, but with the overwhelming amount of plastic bags that are now going up that assembly line, they're flying all over the place. And the last time I was up there, they were shut down for 48 hours because the plastic bags had escaped the assembly line and they were trapped around the gears. Yeah. Because all of that movement is rotors and gears, and the plastic bags were impeding the whole process. And their workers that were typically on those assembly lines were underneath those assembly lines trying to pull out manually the plastic bags. For them, time is money. Plastic bags, not only is there not a market for them, but they are devastating to these recycling plants.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like this. This is our new recycling, it just came out, so.
Question, Joan. Because of this quarantine period with the virus risk, the stores are not allowing us to bring our own bags, our earth-friendly, reusable bags. So any kind of comments or maybe a little pep talk as to how we can, balance our interest in being green with, kind of following the laws right now to get through the pandemic time?
The American Chemistry Council is as good a propagandist organization as some of the other ones I won't mention. They are the ones responsible for the manufacturing of plastic, as well as other high-end products that require chemical processes. They have been fighting tooth and nail to prohibit states and municipalities from banning plastic bags for the reasons we now know. And they are now spreading a rumor that you need plastic bags because they're more sanitary. To that end, California, Massachusetts, Connecticut, even Philadelphia has now delayed the enforcement of their plastic bag bans. And from what I can tell, it's groundless. If you wash your reusable bag, it is as sanitary as a plastic bag with less far-reaching environmental consequences. Unfortunately, most people are frightened to death, and they will listen to what they're hearing from these types of propagandist messages. And even if California is being cautious, that we're in trouble. I'm thinking that the whole ban will be delayed for about a year or two until we get this issue under control. And it's unfortunate because, as we know, reusable bags are the only way to go.
Thank you.
I wanted to say something before moving to. Oh, I don't know if I'm on.
Yes.
You are.
I'm on. Thank you. Before moving to Philadelphia, I was living in New Canaan, Connecticut. And I went to one of the city council meetings where they were having this discussion about if to ban plastic bags from the city of New Canaan. And they actually, after months of deliberation, they won. And a lot of the, every one of the different businesses in town was having their own bags there, and they would sell them at a very low cost, 10 cents a bag, something like that. But the whole town got accustomed to using reusable bags. So it can happen.
Yes, we have one legislator in the Pennsylvania legislature that has impeded the plastic bag ban. Last year, the state of Pennsylvania, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania legislature passed a law prohibiting any municipality from banning plastic bags because Jake Corman of Center County has a plastic bag manufacturing facility in his district that employs 30 to 40 people. To that end, Narberth, Westchester, and Philadelphia defied that prohibition in a sense because Westchester and Narberth passed a plastic bag ban to take effective immediately, and the state has not taken action against them. Philadelphia played it safe. Councilman Squilla, representing South Philly, introduced for about the umpteenth time over 5 years a plastic bag ban that was enacted, was signed into law to be effective July 1 of this year. Now they have pushed back the effective date to January 1st, with enforcement beginning in April of 21. We have Councilman Squilla to thank at least for being brave enough to make it through the barriers to introduce that bill.
Yeah. Sure.
So Joan, I typically save the plastic bags and bring them back to the supermarkets.
Mm-hmm.
Is that effective?
It is.
Okay, good. And the other thing I was going to say,
Bag, a multi-use bag, and that's fine.
I remember when we had a speaker from the Eagles at Rotary a bunch of years ago when the stadium first went green. You remember that story?
Yeah.
It was amazing. They just, you know, the stadium was supposed to be the first green stadium in the country, I believe.
The first as built, yes. And they've just upped their leadership in energy and environmental design rating from the basic to gold, which is incredible. They are recycling everything they can get their hands on. At Eagle Stadium, they have an Eagles forest where they plant trees to counteract the carbon monoxide that their air travel is causing. And they're one of the good guys.
Well, I just remember when they first started, you know, they did all the separating of the recyclables at the stadium, and then the trash hauler was commingling it again. So their trash bills didn't go down, and they finally realized that this was happening. Because now aren't they supposed to be generating energy now and actually putting money back into the system?
They have all of the carports in the parking lot are covered with solar panels. As you go down 95 and you see the front of the stadium, you see those kind of metal looking blocks covering the stadium wall. That's all solar panels. They have wind turbines that you see, those little black whirly things that are circled the top of the stadium, generating waste. They generate so much waste on non-game days that they sell it, or not waste, I'm sorry, electricity, that they sell it back to the utility company and get paid for it. On game days, they can generate about 30% of the energy that they need, especially when the lights are on.
Great. Thank you, Joan, very much for your presentation. It was really eye-opening.
They didn't call me the trash lady of Chester County for nothing.
You make trash interesting.
I'm glad you said that. I did hear that. I didn't have the nerve to say it.
Well, leave it to me.
So as we, just to wind up our meeting, I'm going to call for happy dollars. But before we get to that is just a couple birthdays. Kelly Fain, June 24th. I think she had to drop out. Sandy Goldberg, the 23rd. And Kurt Strummel, the 9th.
Yeah, Kurt.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Happy birthday, Kurt.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
And it's apparently your 30th wedding anniversary coming up.
That's true also.
Wow.
Okay. You didn't forget it, did you?
I didn't forget it. No, it was supposed to play out. My daughter was getting married, May 23rd, and then we were going to have our 30th anniversary. So, didn't work out as planned. But anyway.
Oh, congratulations!
Feels like 5 minutes.
Aw, congratulations, anniversary.
We have a few anniversaries too. Joe Battori, 15 years with our club and 29 years with Rotary.
Woo!
Woo! A long
Congrats.
time. And Lon Scott is the year. And Sharon, we don't see too much anymore. She's 27 years with Rotary. So I know some of you keep in touch with her. That's amazing. So do we have any happy dollars?
I have a happy dollar as I sit here in my powerless house, just to express gratitude because my neighborhood is so lovely, and half the street does still have their power. So those neighbors have set up charging stations in their driveways with extension cords for us to be able to plug our devices in. I have my food and from the refrigerator and freezer now across the street in 2 other neighbors' homes, using space in their refrigerators and freezers to keep food from spoiling. And I've got another invitation later to go use the Wi-Fi at another neighbor's home and sitting in her backyard. So it's just, people do come together when there's a need. So I'm just grateful.
Any other happy
I'll throw a
dollars?
dollar in.
Okay.
You could see the intelligent side of our marriage. Which side is the intelligent side? It reminds me that when I was dating Joan many, many years ago, we went to the University of Pennsylvania Library and I was smitten and madly in love. And she was studying Slavic history and she could not find books in English. So she was reading the books in French and taking notes. And I said to myself, there's going to be no chance with this woman. I may be in love, but I don't have a chance. She's way too bright.
That's very sweet, Joe.
And Chris had one?
Yeah, I had a birthday and I was going to contribute $1 for my birthday, one for every year that I've lived. Make that $85.
Wow.
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 Happy birthday. Thank you.
So you put me on the gun there, Jay, but I'll have to give a happy dollar to my lovely wife, Karen, for putting up with me for 30 years, or 30 plus years, I guess.
I'll afford that.
Someone's in the background.
The benefits and the pros and cons of working from home.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Jeff.
So Saturday night, well, I should say Sunday morning, I woke up, I was at Janine's in New Jersey, and I looked at Facebook and saw that the restaurant across the street, Crybaby, had all their windows smashed out. So I immediately drove back into the city. The sushi restaurant next to my office had their window busted. Crybaby had all their windows smashed. And there was a trash fire right outside my office that fortunately the cops came and put out before it lit the building on fire. So I have 3 happy dollars for that.
Oh boy.
Wow, Jeff, glad you're okay and your business.
Wow.
All good.
Anyone else? Okay. Joan, we will inoculate 3 children in your honor to prevent them from receiving polio. The end of the year, I'm going to tally all of this up. I've been keeping pretty good track of happy dollars and all of that, and we'll take care of that. But thank you for your presentation. It was great.
Thank you.
Very eye-opening. Just the last thing I have is upcoming meetings. We're a little bit out of sorts on everything, but we've made a conscious attempt to continue to have meetings every week because we feel it's really important to keep in touch with our members. So next week we have a board meeting, which is a little bit out of order. Everyone's welcome to join. We need to take care of some business. The following week, which if I'm not mistaken is the 18th of June, we will be giving out awards for the work this year. I said a couple weeks ago at our meeting, maybe a few of you weren't there, is that our club's in line to receive a presidential citation from Rotary International. And that was only possible because of the work of all of you and our committee chairs, as well as all of the members that participated in the event. So it will be a day of celebration. We're also going to install the new officers for the coming year. And we have some changes there that are very exciting. So please make sure that you are there on the 18th. And then on the 25th, we're working on a speaker. We had to make some changes, but we are going to have some of the foundation recipients join us virtually who received the grant foundations this past year. So that'll also be a lot of fun and a lot of celebration. So is there anything else for the good of the club before we adjourn? Okay.
No, I'll just do a preview regarding next week. We're going to do introduce us to your Rotary pets and or children. And if you don't have either of those, you know, a niece or nephew or a pet you grew up with, let's kind of like broaden it that way so that everybody can share something. That'll be
okay. Do we want to do that next week at the board meeting or the following?
Sorry.
That's
what would
okay.
you prefer, Jay? You prefer to do it at the larger meetings?
Maybe
than
the
on board
following
meetings?
meeting. Yeah.
Sure.
That would be
Sure.
good.
Perfect. Okay. And then
Gives us a chance to get our pets together.
for sure. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys. Have a good one.
Stay safe.